What's up, old school homies? Today we're going to talk about, is the Squire Bullet a collectible guitar? Yes, it's a very, very collectible guitar, depending on what year. So, the Squire Bullet is the bottom of the line Squire that you could buy. The cheapest one. Throughout its history, it's only costed about $100. Even today, you could find one for about $100 if it goes on clearance. I think they cost about $150. But the day will come along where they'll liquidate one towards you. And they're very mass production guitars. Let's just put it that way. There's lots of them out there. And when the Squire very first started in 1981, this was the first Squire, the Squire Bullet 1. Then in 1982 they had the Squire Bullet 2. In 1983 it was a little hazy because they actually started production in America. In mid-1983 they cut it off, so there's no more American Squires. Some people get really excited, like, there's an American Squire out there, I gotta buy that. I bought one, and that was the best wood quality. It had a two-piece basswood body, but the neck pocket was really wide, and I had to shim it with masking tape to get the strings to go onto the fretboard. So if you want to be like American quality, this, that, it was still a high production guitar that was offered at a cheap price, so don't run too far with that torch. The next ones that came out were the Japanese ones. These have a lot of hype too, and I also kind of want to point out that they're good. I haven't had any wide neck pockets or anything really weird about those, but the nuts are always made out of really cheap plastic. Every time I get one of those, the nut is always cracked or glued back together or missing. And that's kind of why you get those cheap a lot of times, those parts being broken. Yeah, it was a nice guitar, but some of those are beat down by now. Most of the time you'll have to do a fret level because the frets will have a lot of wear. Unless you could find one that's not been played, which is hard. What are you getting all excited about, like a used guitar for, unless it has decent fret wear? You know what I mean? And that's what people are getting bummed out about, is they buy it out of the hype, and what they buy is an extremely used guitar. Something 35 years old might have been played by a lot of different people over the years, or kept in a closet, or thrown in a closet, and other things thrown on top of it. I always received these guitars with weird dings in them, and you're like, why was this one ding like really hard in this weird area? You know, it's because people didn't play it. They shoved it in a closet and threw other things on top of it usually. So deep scratches, all that shit, it happens. You'll see that in all of the early ones too. So condition is everything, honestly. Now the whole hype on the Squire Bullet having a American made neck on it, Telecaster neck, it might be unfounded in my opinion. Like, it even says that on Wikipedia too, but you don't have to buy into everybody's hype. Just play the guitar and say, do I like this neck or do I not? Because I've owned a few of those Telecaster necks and they're not all the same. Depending on the year, they vary quite a bit. The early 1982 had the thickest neck profile, which was very nice, very interesting. But like I said, the 82 body wasn't made as nice. And I kind of felt like I really wanted that neck back, but I sold it. Actually traded it for an American Strat. There is mystique there, you know. The newest mystique is usually in the Korean ones. I'm in on that market now. So I played with the Japanese ones. The prices are going up really high. The Japanese ones are 1983. Halfway through the year, they started outsourcing the guitars to Japan. They'll usually have a SQ serial number. I've owned one of those, and it required some work. I had to put a nut on it. The tuning pegs are really nice on those Japanese ones and the early American ones, and I think by the Korean ones in 1985, when they started outsourcing to Korea, they lowered the quality of the tuning pegs. They're still usable. I haven't taken them off of mine, but they were nicer, the Japan ones. Also, the knobs, the potentiometers, were nicer on the Japan ones. They're full size. The Korean ones were part size. Some of the Japan guitars that I've had solid wood, some of them did not. The Korean ones, they're all plywood. So, as you go into the collectability, that's why the Korean ones fall off. And now's the good time to get in on them because it's rising, but it's at a low point right now due to the parts that they put into the actual guitar. The Korean ones have a single ply pick guard, but it's really thick and it's really nice. It has a little bit cheaper tuning pegs, but the neck profile, it's amazing. It's really, really nice. The body fit finish, I have no complaints. I feel that they're a little bit nicer than the Japan and American made ones, but the hype isn't there yet. So that's why the early Korean ones are starting to get up to $150, up to $200. You could find one for $60 or $80 like I did, and now's the time. But yeah, those are collectible. Beyond the early Korean ones though, it's like a little bit hazy as to if it's collectible. Now, what hype do you have to go off of at the whole country thing? They've been in Indonesia for the longest time, and those are really nice guitars. The Court Factory guitars are really nice. Probably nicer than any of the other guitars that we've had before, for the most part. So why are we poo-pooing the new Squire bullets that are coming out when they're at the highest quality that they ever were? And the neck profiles are really nice and thick. And that's where they're tricking us. They're just like, we'll give you exactly what you want at the dirt cheap price, and we know you won't buy it. It's true half the time. People will say, this low price guitar sucks, and then other people will actually play it and play it for what it's worth, maybe put some tuning keys on a new one, and have a very nice playable guitar.